Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and I just want to talk about knee-jerk reactions. What's a knee-jerk reaction? Well, I'll tell you what a knee-jerk reaction is. There's a so-called housing crisis going on, and I already did one video about why there's a housing crisis going on, which really isn't going on, but it is going on and perceived. But knee-jerk reactions. Government has a habit of doing knee-jerk reactions, especially provincial governments in Canada, state governments in the United States and around the world. They think we gotta do something. Well, the British Columbia government just did something incredibly stupid. And I'm just calling them out as stupid. Supposedly there are 16,000 short-term rentals in all of British Columbia, the whole province, which is a very large province, by the way. I believe there's 6.5 million people that live there, maybe 7 or 8. Doesn't matter. They came out with no short-term rentals. What does that mean? Well, it doesn't mean there can't be short-term rentals. There's going to be short-term rentals. There's a reason they exist, by the way. Maybe all you people out there that, they're the vein, we got to get rid of them. Well, there's a reason they exist. The hotel motel industry will not produce what Airbnb produces, and because they don't, boom, market. Simple, supply and demand. You get rid of all the Airbnbs, be $2,000 a night to stay at a Motel 6 in some areas. So that's another subject. This is what they did. So they're going to ban Airbnbs. They're not banning them. If I own a house and I have a suite above my garage, or a suite in the backyard, or a suite in the basement, I can Airbnb it because I live there. No big deal. I can live in an apartment and have another apartment as an Airbnb. No problem. But what I can't do is have 5 of them, or 10 of them, or whatever. Or rent a whole building off of somebody and turn it into Airbnb, and all the crazy things. They're saying no, but you know what? There are 14 districts that are exempt from what they're bringing in. And I just want to put out, these are the hardest places to find a place to live. If you live and work in Radium, for all the people around the world, you can look it up on a map, it's exempt. If you work in Invermere and want to find a place to live, it's exempt. That's right, it's exempt. How about Fernie, the ski capital of British Columbia? Well, no, Whistler is. Exempt. Whistler, exempt. Fernie, exempt. Osoyoos, exempt. There are 14 communities that exempt from what they're doing, and these are the places where nobody can find a place to live. Wow. Second of all, I want to finish this off by saying this is the dumbest thing ever, but more importantly, the headline. All the news stations. Airbnb is being banned. 16,000 short-term rentals will go into the long-term rental market. And I'm just letting you know right now. First, if you have an Airbnb and you run an Airbnb like I do, there is no way that Airbnb is going to turn into a long-term rental. You'll never get the income. It never makes any sense. And if you're a short-term rental person and you've never been a long-term rental person, you will not be able to make the transition. I'm a long-term rental person. I have long-term rentals. I've had them since 1982. Think about that. 40 years. I really got to get out of the long-term rental business. I just 40 years. But I also have Airbnb. Airbnb was for a reason. Would have sold the property if I didn't Airbnb it, because long-term rental in the area makes no sense whatsoever. Go broke. So they bring in this. This will go into long-term. This is the flaw in their thinking, and this is a bunch of mamby-pamby government people. Don't get me going about Alberta's mamby-pamby government. They're just like, oh my lord, I could make videos a day about the dumbassery going on there. These short-term rentals will go into the long-term rental market. No, they won't. They will be sold. If there isn't an end around, and trust me, people will think of an end around and a way to do it to keep them Airbnb. Otherwise, they will sell them. If you're a realtor in this area where there are a lot of short-term rentals and so-called that's the end of the short-term rentals, and they're just going to be sold. And if they lose money, they lose money. They are not, repeat, not going to turn these into regular rentals for long-term tenants. Not going to happen. They're not in areas. One, they're not in areas where people want long-term tenants. Two, the rental market, long-term rental market, BC has rent controls, will not generate the revenue you need with the mortgage payments that people are making on these things. Gee, like a one bedroom is 500 grand. What do you got to rent that for at 5.5% interest rates? Think about this. You're not going to rent it as a loss. Not mamby-pambies in government going, oh, they'll just rent it up. No, they'll just sell them. It'll create a semi-flood of listings. So if you're a realtor in those areas, you're going to be great. You're going to have lots of listings coming up, and they're going to go down in price because, supply and demand. So there you go. They get a price reduction, which is what they want to make things more affordable. You get rid of all these Airbnbs, which, honestly, supply and demand controls the market. Three, nothing goes into the long-term market, so you create less tourism, less people coming, less people spending, a worse economy, and at the end of the day, you don't get any long-term rentals. You want long-term rentals, offer incentives for long-term rentals and have people build them. And 3 years from now, or 4 years from now, you have lots of long-term rentals. That's how you create supply in a market that has no supply. But you're not looking at why there's a problem. Short-term rentals is not the problem. Is not the problem. There's a reason they exist, and you refuse to identify that the supply and demand. People want to visit and they want a nice place to stay, and Airbnb offers that. Varble and all the rest of them, they offer that. It wasn't there. If the product was there for people to rent and come and enjoy your wonderful city, Airbnb wouldn't exist. It's as simple as that. It just wouldn't. The long-term rental market would be satisfied by the long-term rental market. But you know what? There is no way this legislation is going to fix their problem. In fact, it'll push prices down a little bit further, and less people will visit where these Airbnbs are. So the tourism dollars will go down, and a year from now and 2 years from now, they'll wonder why nobody's visiting. Well, there's nowhere to stay, and I ain't paying $200 to stay at the Motel 6. So thank you for tuning in on Dumbassery and Knee-Jerk Reactions. Knee-jerk reactions are a common thing lately, and I don't get it. Have yourself a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you in the future. And remember, don't let your knee hit you in the head.